Hello everybody and welcome back to Throttle Grotto. So today on the channel we're going to be restoring these old wheels that used to be on the Rabbit and now they're on the Honda. Stay tuned. Okay, so the project for this week is to make these wheels look brand new again. And I know that may seem like, for some of you that may seem really tough. For some of you are going to be like, yep, no problem, I know exactly what he's going to do. So I'm going to walk you through the steps that I'm going to use on these particular wheels. Most of them will apply to just about any wheel that you try to restore. Some of you might be saying, just go have a media blasted, it's going to be way easier on your body, and you're absolutely right. But media blasting costs money, and I don't have money to spend on this. So, all right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about a few of the products I'm going to use. I'm going to use some of this aircraft remover. Sometimes it comes in a blue container, sometimes it doesn't. This is extra strength non-methylene chloride. I'm going to use some acetone and then a whole bunch of sandpaper, different sandpapers. I also have some of this Goof Off Pro Strength remover. Sometimes this works in a pinch. I've already done a couple of these wheels and I know that this finish here in the center is really, really tough. The stuff here on the outside comes up pretty quick and easy, but the stuff on the center here, I don't know if it's a powder coat or an epoxy paint, but it's really difficult to get up. So, and of course, safety, use gloves. If you're not in a drafty garage, I'd suggest using a respirator. Don't do this in your living room. Your spouse may get really angry with you if you start using these types of chemicals in the living room. So just words to the wise. And then you also want to have something that sets up underneath your work to catch your, you can put down a piece of plastic. I have one of these plastic drain pans that actually fits a 14-inch wheel perfectly. Don't ask me how that happened. But that's pretty much all you need to get started. All right, so first I'm just going to dispense some of this into a little cup. You can tell that it's a little cold in the shop. In fact, it is, let's see here, it is less than 40 degrees according to the shop thermometer. So next step, I'm just going to use this old toothbrush. Again, don't use your regular toothbrush to do this unless you're going to buy a new one. And I'm just going to spread this on everything on the wheel, and I'm going to let it sit. And I might even throw a little heat gun on this to kind of help things warm up a little bit, work at the proper temperature. Alright, so now you know this is working. And I'll show you how you can tell if you've never used this stuff before. You can see here where the paint is crinkling up and kind of flaking away from the base layer or for whatever it's attached to. That's how you know it's working really well. And see there, it's actually just using this pick tool, not scraping real hard, just scraping a little bit. It's actually getting all the way down to the bare metal. That's where some of these plastic scraper tools can come in real handy. You can get in there and just kind of knock everything loose. You can see here, this stuff, same thing, just scraper tool. And it's not taking it all up. I might have to do another coat or two here. Might end up having to do another coat here to keep this stuff working. But you can see here, it's kind of knocking the dirt off, but not really anything significant on this section of the wheel yet. So I'll throw you guys back I'll throw you guys back on time lapse, and we'll keep throwing some coats on here, and hopefully get this thing to loosen its grip on this old fin. All right, now we can see, after putting some heat on it, that the paint is really starting to blister on this wheel, which means that chemical is working to release the paint from the surface below it, which is pretty good. I think the next time I do this, I'll probably take the wheel inside the house. So I still have one more to do. I'll probably take the wheel inside the house and let it sit overnight over the vent in the kitchen and get nice and warm. And then the surface of the metal will actually be really warm for the product to work with. It'll probably work super quick that way. Okay, so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to neutralize some of this stuff with some acetone, and I've got a really stiff nylon brush. This is actually a chain cleaning brush from my bikes that I've kind of repurposed because I have a couple of them to do this kind of nasty, ugly stuff. And I'm just going to pour this on here, kind of scrub it, help rinse away some of this stuff. And that's the nice thing about having the bucket underneath it, is that it catches all of this. Alright, the next step, now that I've scraped most of the sludge off of this wheel, is I'm going to take it outside and spray the rest of this off with the hose, so the water will finish the neutralization process. You can see I didn't get everything off of here, but I got it pretty well stripped down, which is kind of what I wanted to do. So I'm still going to have to sand a bunch of this, but that's okay because we're going to be painting it anyway. And I really wasn't planning on taking it completely to bare metal because I'm not going to polish this wheel. So get a bunch of the garbage off of it so that I can get a nice smooth finish to work with, and polish the lips, paint the centers. That's the plan. All right, I'm calling it a night. I went out to spray the wheel off, and my garden hose decided to spray all the way down my leg because I think I left the donut out of the spigot. So it is currently less than 40 degrees in the shop, and I'm calling it a night because I'm not going to work out here soaked. All right, everybody, I am back out in the garage. Oh my goodness, I have to show this to you. The temperature indicator in here tonight. Oh my gosh. So the shop thermometer says almost 30 degrees in the shop tonight, which, working with water during this time was great idea. So basically the next step is just elbow grease. I'm going to start out with some 220 paper and see how that works for me. Everything on here is pretty dry now, so I'm just going to try to smooth everything out, knock a bunch of the big stuff off. And in the lip here, I don't know if you can see it, hopefully you can with the good resolution now, there's actually a machined pattern in the lip and in the barrel that I have to knock out of there too. So we'll start with 220. Alright, so that is the first part of the process. Just the lip is sanded down to 220. I'm going to do the rest of the wheel in 220, and then I'll check back in with you guys in a few minutes. Alright, so you can see here, we've sanded the wheel down with 220. There are some things in here that are pretty deep, just some etchings and stuff. I might go back over this a little bit more. And obviously I'm not taking out like these little dings on the edges. There's ways that you can do this stuff. You could TIG welded up. Would be a lot easier if I had done that before I put a tire on it, but I'm too cheap to take the tire off at this point, so I'm just trying to do a quickie refinish because these wheels aren't super valuable, and they're 14s, and like, let's face it, 14s aren't really that popular of a wheel size anymore. I'm going to touch up that right there with a little bit more of 220 before I move on to the 320 or 400 or whichever one I have over here. Let's see here. 320 is the next one. Okay, so we are done with the 400, and I've got some smudges from the aluminum there, but you can see things are starting to smooth out pretty nicely. That ridge is gone from the on the outer lip, starting to get a little shiny here. I'll show you guys the old wheel to see. I think if we look at it, you can see there's like a pattern of the ring that goes all the way around the outside of the wheel here. The temperature is dropping in here, and my hands are frozen nearly solid. I've been trying to use the heat gun to warm them up, but it just keeps not working. It's just not working. So I want to call it for the night. Come back out tomorrow when it's a little bit warmer out. All right, so now we have gone through our 800 grit, and you can see here there's starting to be a little bit of a shine to it, even without a polish. Reflectivity is getting a little bit better, but I suspect that once we put a little bit of polish on here, it is going to get a whole lot better. Now, you can go, for those of you that don't know, you can go way deep into this sanding process, all the way up to, I have all the way up to 3000 grit paper. For the purposes of this wheel, it's not a very desirable wheel, so I'm not too concerned about, making it perfect. Obviously, there's some lip damage here. You can see there's like little nicks in the finish here that I still haven't taken out. Some of these marks that were through the clear coat, like this one here, this little black mark, that's where like the clear coat was gone and it got eaten up. I probably could get that out if I spent a bunch more time on it, but honestly, I'm looking to get like a 90% improvement in appearance on these wheels, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to achieve that. So next step is to polish the lip and the barrel. Don't get me wrong. That could be a ton better, but if we use our ultra scientific reflectiveness test on the card, you can still see some of the sanding marks in there in the lip. And maybe at some point when it's like actually warm out, I can pull the wheels off and go deeper into the polishing, as far as going into like 100, 1500, 2000, 2500, and then do a polish on it. And that will actually put like a really nice mirror finish on these. But then again, I'm not as concerned about that. So the next step is to tape off the centers so that I can paint. And for that, I have to turn to a pile of tape. So blue tape, I'm sure you're all familiar with. Some of you may not be familiar with this. This is called fine line tape. And this is key for masking off areas like down in here where I don't want any paint. The nice thing about this is that it turns corners really well. So if you're trying to make a curved spot where you're taping off, have some of this in your tape kit. Really nice to have handy. So next step for me is to clean the inside of the wheel with isopropyl alcohol. Make sure there's no oil or anything left, or any other contaminants that could ruin the paint. And then I'll lay down some fine. All right, now that I've got this all masked off, nearly ready to cooperate. I'm just going to hit this with the heat gun real quick, warm up the whole wheel. I've already got the paint inside the house, so it should be warm enough. And then we'll just do real light coats with the heat gun in between to get the paint to stick, and should go pretty easy. All done. I've got them. I got the one dry. Obviously I haven't started on the fourth wheel yet, but let's take a look. Everybody, so the wheels turned out great. I still have one more to do, so I can't put them on the car yet, so you won't get to see how they look on the beat until later. Sorry about that. With the Christmas holiday and work and everything else, I'm not going to have time to finish the fourth wheel this week. But bottom line is, they were a set of wheels that I had just laying around the garage. They've been holding up the Rabbit. For a set of wheels that I had just laying around that I got really cheap, I think I paid $80 for these things 8 or 9 years ago, just as something to put on the car that like kept it off the ground. I think they turned out great. I have more plans for these wheels. I'm not done with them yet. So bottom line, I could have went way deeper down the rabbit hole and done a much higher polish on the lips. I could have done a much more detailed sanding and cleaning on the centers. I could have polished the centers. There's a lot of things I could have done differently, but I wanted to do a quick, decent job and show you guys how to do a quick, decent job to freshen up a set of wheels that you might have had laying around the garage. So click like and subscribe. I always appreciate everyone's support, and that is really the best way that you guys can support the channel. So until next time, get out there and work on something.